Okay, today we're going to be talking to Dylan Andrews, he's running a new Kickstarter um, for his new book, the CYST The Skin Grafter. And I've talked to Dylan before. I've met him at the Albany Comic Con the past 2 years that they had it, and got to talk to him a little bit. And he was always a fun interview. So when I saw that he was running a Kickstarter, I sent him a message to see if he'd like to, chat with us about the Kickstarter, and he agreed. So let me go ahead and bring him in.
Hey,
Hi.
thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, I appreciate
So
it.
before we get into talking about the Kickstarter, and I don't think we really, in our past couple interviews, which were kind of short, and because we were on the con floor and it was busy and noisy and all that good stuff that
True.
you miss. How did you get into comics? Do you remember the first one that you read?
Yeah, I often wonder back, and I think when I was a kid, it was the Frank Miller Wolverine miniseries. That was kind of issue 4. I remember vividly getting that at a gas station when I was a kid. I think it was like 1985, so I probably was around 5 years old. And that first scene where he's like in silhouette and then he like lunges and cuts through a briefcase and like cocaine flies everywhere and money. So that sort of Frank Miller visual, it's kind of burned into my mind. And of course, I've said this before, but whenever Logan had his claws in, I would take a Sharpie marker and like draw his claws. So I was always like in the comic book, like doodling away on stuff. So spent a lot of my youth just drawing and creating characters. And actually, my father had a big Tupperware tub, and he's like, "Hey, I found this in the basement. And it was filled with sketchbooks. So it was about 2 feet deep, filled with sketchbooks of just sharks and monsters and anything I could think of. I would draw all the time, and I loved art and I loved creating. So what I did was I loved reading comics, and I grew up reading comics, and I had a bunch of, like the X-Men, the Mark Silvestri, the Chris Claremont stuff. I loved all that. And of course, then the Jim Lee stuff and the Rob Liefeld X-Force stuff. That was like the best things ever. Then, of course, Todd McFarlane Spider-Man, Eric Larson Spider-Man. So when they did their own Image comics, that was a huge influence on me, and I loved that. And then I went to Syracuse University, and comic books in the late 90s, early 2000s were kind of dead. There wasn't really a lot going on. It had kind of imploded. So at that time, I was thinking, geez, should I try to pursue a career in illustration or in design? And I thought the design kind of made sense for me because I love publishing. I love layout. I loved the idea of incorporating photography and illustration and typography and making stuff. So I went to Syracuse University for communication design. I took a lot of illustration courses. And then when I graduated, I went into the corporate world of doing publishing. So I've been in publishing, doing magazines, newspapers, advertising design for years. And I really always wanted to draw. I always wanted to tell my own stories and make my own art. So I've just kind of seen other people around me. And in Portland, Maine, there's this great community of creators. And there's this local comic shop I'd spend all my time hanging out in. And I would see on the racks that they had signed copies of comics. I'm like, how are there signed copies of comics? I don't understand. And the owner was like, oh, yeah, no, there's a bunch of creators in Portland, and they make their own comics, and they have their own books. And so I was like, I can do that. I know how to publish stuff. Why don't I try to learn how to draw more of my characters and make my own stories? So I connected with those guys, and I was able to kind of just do the convention scene. So I'd make comics. I was listening to a lot of podcasts about how to do Kickstarter campaigns. Kickstarter was kind of starting to be its own thing at that time. So I was doing Kickstarter campaigns, doing the layout, doing the design, doing the illustration, doing the writing, doing, everything, lettering, pre-press, doing marketing, advertising, doing it all, trying to get good at all of it.
So are there any other creators other than the ones you kind of already talked about that influence your styles of writing and, art?
Well, the great thing about, I love that 90s image Chromium Age stuff. So that stuff is the stuff that I get really excited about still. Like even when I'm going through dollar bins and I find old Savage Dragon issue number 1s, I pull them out. I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta have that. I got like 10 copies of Savage Dragon issue number 1. so I'll do those. And I was doing it with Spawn too. Like Spawn was in the dollar bin. I'm like, yeah, I gotta have those. And now they're actually gone up in value. I'm like, I'll pay $1. But so yeah, that kind of stuff really influenced me. The image founders, that was huge. And I think that people that maybe weren't around then don't realize how big a dynamic change that was, how it really just kind of redefined what comics were and the superstar comic book artist. It was such a big era for illustrators, for sequential artists, and the Wizard had the top 10 artists in the back, and it's like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. This is everything to me. It was so important. And even now, when I get to meet or I get to see artists that I'm a fan of at conventions, and I've met Rob Liefeld briefly, met Todd McFarlane briefly, Eric Larson, Mark Silvestri. So being able to just kind of just say hi to them, and how much their work has influenced what I want to do and how I want to create and the way I want to produce content, it's just been really inspiring. Those guys, that generation. But there are a lot of modern creators and modern artists that I'm a huge fan of and kind of am friends with. So Joe Schmalke, he's done a lot of incredible stuff. He's a buddy of mine, hugely talented individual. Ben Bishop, he's doing incredible stuff. Great guy, incredibly talented. I'm sure I'm going to miss a bunch of other people, but so Sean Murphy, I kind of casually know, obviously a superstar in the industry right now. He's in Portland, Maine. There's really just that sort of great community of other creators. Rich Woodall, and actually I have some artist friends of mine who have contributed art to my campaign. So like Ian Chase Nichols, Chris Vance, Luis Rivera, Bill Walco. So just kind of doing conventions and hanging out with my friends and making art and making comic books has been, I love seeing other artists work. I'm always trying to kind of see what other people are doing and working on. It's incredibly inspiring. I'm so proud and happy to be able to be a part of that community. It just means a lot to me.
Well, as you were mentioning some of those guys, they were the people I met them too at the. That's part of you're all part of the Ultra Entertainment thing.
Yeah,
group,
we do
right?
we do a lot of shows with those guys. Ultra Reality is incredibly supportive and very generous, and I love their conventions. I love doing their shows. I try to do as many as I can. They're just really supportive of artists and creators. And that's kind of, I definitely have worked with them and done shows with them. Albany was a great one. They've had a few other, Rhode Island, another really big one. They've had some other ones around. I just did one in Connecticut a little while ago before everything happened. So I love being able to go on the road with my friends and do conventions and meet people and share my stories and my books and do commissions. It's just, I do miss that part of it, but I have really taken this time, right? This time that we're in right now and tried to be as productive as possible. So with this Kickstarter I'm doing right now, it's running the month of July. We're over goal. We have 56 backers currently, and the book is done. The book is finished. I finished it before launching so that I wouldn't have to sit and wait to do fulfillment. I like the fulfillment part to be just, hey, I need people that like my work and want to support my work to get their rewards as quickly as possible. That's always kind of my thing. I don't like having to sit and wait on a Kickstarter. Because I think that kind of ruins the magic for it. Like if you order something, I want to try to get it to you as quickly as possible. And for the Kickstarters, I'm not waiting on anyone else. Since I do everything myself, I'm not waiting for the inker, waiting for the letterer. That guy's me. So if it's not done, it's on me. So I like to make sure that all of it is complete as possible before even launching. So they're just paying for, or they're helping to support the printing and the distribution. It's really what the Kickstarter is for me.
So is there a part of the process that you enjoy more than the others? Because you just said you do all of it, and is there is it the writing, or is there one that you find a little more challenging than the other?
The thing with me is that I often wonder, like, geez, maybe I should collaborate more, because I have some ideas. I've talked to some of my friends who are all incredibly talented, and it's like, man, maybe I should collaborate with my friends a little bit and kind of have them do parts or pieces. And then I'm like, well, I could hire a penciler for this, or I could hire a writer for this, and I could hire an inker for that, and I could hire a colorist for this, and someone to do the pre-press, and someone to do the lettering. And then it's like, well, I might as well just go buy a comic book. At that point, I'm not doing anything. I want to learn all of the parts. That's always been I take a lot of online courses. I love I love education. Do online comics experience, comic book boot camp, Kubert School. I did that. I went to Kubert School briefly. I love learning as much as I can. I love seeing the process. I love getting better at all of it. And so I always am very critical of my own, it's tough as an artist, as a designer, as a creator, as an entrepreneur to kind of be like, oh, I only want to do this part and just, I want to try to learn and do all of it and get really as good as I can at all of it. And I know that maybe there are people that, would just want to be a penciler or just be an inker or just be a letterer. But it's like, yeah, but why wouldn't you want to try to learn those other parts too? That's all part of it. Yeah. So I like all of it.
So let's get into the Kickstarter.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
We have the Kickstarter right here. Tell us a little bit about the Kickstarter or the book and kind of the influences behind it, and maybe a brief summary that may just to kind of tell what it's about.
Yeah, so CYST The Skin Grafter on Kickstarter in July. We're over goal, but we're cruising for stretch goals. We're currently at 56 backers. We have a little bit of time left on the clock, so if you haven't yet, go to cystcomic.com to check it out. CYST The Skin Grafter is about an ancient, hungry creature from the deep has risen to the surface to wreak havoc on a violent world. I had to read that because it's a tagline, a log line I have not memorized yet. I will. By the time con season rolls around, I'll have that memorized. So with the books I've created, so I have, I can show you here. So this is Archive Volume 1, and that's Archive Volume 2. And then these are trades. And then The Oppressors is my most recent Kickstarter that just completed this year. So I wanted to, as I was saying, get good at all the parts of comics. And the thing I love about comics is I love all kinds of genres of comics. So I love sci-fi. I love masked vigilante stuff. I love sword and sorcery, Conan stuff. So I wanted to create comics that were each of those. So Archive the Warhood Odyssey, which was the 6-issue series I did in 2 volumes, that takes place in the future because I wanted to have a sci-fi book. I wanted to have to be able to have like post-apocalyptic and like zombies and kind of superhero, but more science-based action. So that's my sci-fi book. The Oppressors, which was just Kickstarter funded and fulfilled this year. That one I wanted to do like a masked vigilante. What would my Batman book be like? And so the Batman story I had to tell, I wanted it to be my characters. So it's the Oppressors. And so it's kind of a Suicide Squad. It's a lot of that sort of darker, grittier, current time, right? So the Warhood's in the future. The Oppressors is current time. And then CYST, I wanted to do like a sword and sorcery, Conan, sort of magical character. And I wanted it to take place in the past. So that's it's like castles and dragons. Yeah. So what we realize, or what I reveal in this CYST comic, cystcomic.com, currently over goal, 56 backers. What I reveal in that is that there's a character that can connect all of those timelines, right? So there's a character that kind of has his task is to how do you weave them all together in a crossover event. So I'm building to that. I want there to be this DYLANVERSE, which is what Bill Walco has called it, the DYLANVERSE.
Nice.
I love it. DYLANVERSE. So it's this archive universe, because that was the thing back in the day in the 90s and the Chromium Age stuff. They're like, let's cross over comics. And it's like, yeah, why wouldn't I have all my characters? And people ask, like, are these all connected? And enough people ask where I'm like, sure, they can be. I just have to figure out a way to connect them, because I can do whatever I want. I mean, these are all my characters. I can have them fight each other or team up or be related somehow and be the great grandson of one of the others. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving too much away, but this is all part of the plan, is to have all these different genres of comics that I can jump in and out of. So I got Warhood, I got Oppressors, I got CYST, and then whichever, just keep bouncing back and forth, and then collecting them in trades and doing conventions and sharing my work with people.
And then the DYLANVERSE, Crisis in the DYLANVERSE.
Yeah, I call it the midlife final ultimate crisis. The midlife crisis on Infinite Earths. I've told my wife that. I'm like, it's like a midlife crisis on Infinite Earths. She's like, shouldn't tell people that. I'm like, no, it makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited about this book. It's finished. It's been drawn and lettered and edited. The covers are done. And I have a bunch of great reward levels available in the campaign. So there's original art levels. So you could get original art, like the cover art. If this is something that people want, there's original art available. So that's one of the covers. And there's commission levels. So the characters, that's CYST, and then that's Verses, one of the characters from the Oppressors. I have the pencil art, and I got a whole stack art here. Yeah, so there's original art levels available. There's commissions available. So if someone's like, hey, can you draw Moon Knight? I'd love to draw Moon Knight. Sure thing. Happy to do it. I love drawing Moon Knight. I love drawing Venom. I love drawing Deathstroke, Batman, just some ideas. So I do commissions. There are commission levels available. There's original art from the book available. And we have stretch goals I want to get to. So if we get stretch goals, it expands the size of the book. And also people get variant covers. So if we get past a certain threshold, if you pledge for one book, you will be getting two. You'll be getting the standard cover and the variant cover if we are able to unlock that, hopefully. And also there's the original art levels available for my friends who are kind enough to draw my characters. So we have Luis Rivera, Bill Walco, Ian Chase Nichols, and Chris Vance, who all were like, yeah, I'd love to draw your characters. They're so much fun to draw. And I'm like, I know, that's why I designed them. So I don't want to draw boring stuff. So they're like, yeah, I'll draw it. And I'm like, great, draw my character and then mail it to me. And so so those are available too. And I'm psyched that they wanted to be able to offer those. I think they're really cool. And I actually was posting today. So if you go to CYSTcomic.com, I kind of revealed some of them. I wanted to wait till we hit the goal before I showed off their work. But yeah, their stuff is great. And if you scroll down, you can kind of see some of their artwork. And definitely go to CYSTcomic.com and check that out.
So this is looks like you've done 9 Kickstarters prior, and you are you finding this is this one is any different, or given kind of the state of the economy and how maybe just like the uncertainty, I'm guessing.
Yeah, the thing about Kickstarter is it definitely is a reflection of people and where they're at and what you as a creator have been able to provide previously. So having a good track record, having 9 campaigns successfully hit goal and be fulfilled, which is really the thing, is fulfilled. I think I have a good group of people that like what I'm doing and want to support it. Obviously I do. I have 56 people that like what I'm doing and want to support it. I try not to get as caught up in how the world around me, I'm a creator, like I have to keep making stuff. So this is the best option available right now. I mean, when we were growing up, this wasn't a thing. You couldn't have the printing and distribution for a book prepaid or pre-sold like this. The social media has enabled this to be an option. I think it was Rick Remender who said, yeah, we had a crowdfunding. It was called a credit card. And back in the day, if you wanted to produce a comic book, you just put it all on the credit card. And it's like, man, that's tough to be able to. There is uncertainty. Obviously, we're in a very challenging time right now. There's a lot going on. I'm not completely unaware. Obviously, everyone is touched by what's occurring. But like I've said, I think with me personally, I try to fill my life with things I love and enjoy, and that's art and comics and stories and movies and books and music, anything you can find that can bring you joy and happiness. I think there's value to that now more than ever, maybe. And so what I try to do is create stuff that people get excited about and want to support. Now, luckily, fortunately for me, I'm not a movie theater. I don't have to worry about, conventions can't happen right now. Movies can't happen right now. Comic book stores, I think they're limited, but and movie theaters have had to change, so they're drive-ins, and conventions have to change. Right. They're online, and comic book stores have to change. So, but with me, it's like, no, my the way I've been conducting my Batlantic Studios is to work this way, to create stuff through crowdfunding and be able to provide it. And unless that changes, then I'm going to keep going like this because I love making comics. So,
and that's cool. And I totally get where you're coming from. Now, I believe I believe you also contributed to another Kickstarter that I just kind of featured with an interview, the Iced Earth with John Schaffer.
Oh yeah, yep.
So how did you kind of get because your style kind of is perfect for what the theme and the tone that he was doing with his project, and you got to work with some of the your inspiration
yeah, he
people
showed
who
me
inspired you.
he showed me a list of some of the other artists that he was able to have on that, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to draw for you. And that's the thing, is I'm a freelance creator, so I'm a self-publisher, but I'm freelance. So I if anyone is interested in hiring me to draw for them, yeah, I'd love to hear what you want me to draw. It really just a matter of finding my work. You've seen it. What fits with that? So if they're like, oh, I have this My Little Pony, I'm like, yeah, probably not what I'm doing. But if he's like, oh, I got this monster and he's got a snake, and I'm like, yeah, snake monster, sure. Or he's like, oh, and this guy's got an axe. I'm like, yeah, I could draw that. I'm a freelance
Tell me
illustrator.
more.
Right. That's the thing about being a freelance illustrator, is it's like, yeah, my job is to draw for a client. So anytime I take on any of these it's a professional business interaction, and he was great to work with. I'm very, very lucky as a freelance. I do freelance design and illustration. So anytime I can have a client that enjoys what I do and just kind of lets me go and lets me loose, and I'm always happy to show them. Usually what happens with any sort of design or illustration job is you have to show them roughs. They approve the roughs, you give them a couple options, then you bring it to like a more finished pencil version, possibly digital. They approve that step of the process, and they do a finished piece, and then you provide them the opportunity to have the original art, right? Because usually when you're doing an illustration or a design job, they get the digital file, but often they want the original physical media too, if it's been created for the job. So yeah, he was great to work with, and I'm looking forward to doing more work with him and any other people that want to hire me to draw for them. I think that's kind of the thing. Is if you go to DylanAndrewsArt.com, you can see some of my sequential stuff, and you can see some of my pinup stuff and cover stuff. So yeah,
and I'll definitely include that in the links with
Thank
this.
you.
But I just want to say, when I was kind of doing my research for his project, your name was one of the names that kind of popped out at me as one of the familiar names that I knew that I'd talked to, and so that was kind of really cool to that the two kind of crossed.
Totally. And the thing about being an indie creator is that you just meet people at conventions, and they just connect with what you're doing. That's like doing anything, any commissions or anybody that likes my work and wants to support it and buys my art. They just connect with what I'm doing, and they see that I'm passionate about it, and they know that I love making art, and they know that I'll come through. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is that I'm a professional. Like, I will work on what you hire me to work on, and I want to make it as smooth a process as possible so that you have an awesome thing that you're psyched about, whether you're hanging it on your wall or printing it in a book. Yeah, I love making stuff, and thrilled to be able to find people like my work and want to support it, for sure.
So it looks like you have, let me just scroll back up here, 17 more days to go.
Yeah.
So
I don't know when this video will be coming out, but it ends at the end of July. So if it's still July 2020 when you're watching this, you still have a chance. And if not, I'm sorry. I don't know what time frame or reality you're in now. I don't know what the world's going to look like, but I know that currently right now in July of 2020, things are going great. So hopefully if you're watching this in 2021 or 2022, I don't know, maybe.
Well, no, this should definitely go out within either tomorrow or the next couple of days. So.
Awesome. I often go through YouTube though, and I'll watch videos that are older, and it's like, oh, this is from a while ago. It's like a toy review, and I'm like, oh man, I missed this toy that was reviewed in 2019. I'm like, oh, I would have bought this. I didn't even know it released.
But again, I want to thank you. And is there anything else that I may have not mentioned that you want to kind of say? I mean, I think we really covered a lot of ground here, more so than our other interviews in the past.
Good. I hope I was entertaining. I didn't bore anyone. I hope I gave you a good overview of my work and my comic books. And thank you so much to everybody for going to CYSTcomic.com. You can also go to DylanAndrewsArt.com or BatlanticStudios.com. BatlanticStore.com is where you can purchase merch like hats and sweatshirts. Yeah, I'm on Twitch. I'm on YouTube at DylanDistraction.com.
Do you do like live drawings on Twitch?
I do, and so what I do is I have like the ability to multi-stream. So I do like a Facebook Live, a Twitch, and a YouTube, and it goes to all of them. So
okay,
because sometimes people rewatch it on Twitch or they rewatch it on YouTube, and I don't have a lot of people or a huge following, but everybody that watches my work and watches me draw, I really appreciate it. It's often really nice to be able to just kind of have a conversation with someone, because being an illustrator in your studio at home alone can be a very solitary existence. So it's always nice to be able to do live stream drawings and be able to just kind of say hi and talk with people and see what they're doing.
So has there last question, is there anything that you've been reading new or old that you would recommend people to check besides your stuff?
Of course, yes. My friend Ben Bishop has Drawing Blood, which is the Kevin Eastman book that he's been working on. That stuff is phenomenal. I'm a huge fan of Ben. His work is great. Definitely, obviously, check his work out. I mean, he's doing incredible stuff. Joe Schmalke, he has The Electric Black with Rich Woodall, and also Murder Hobo, which is great. And then I got like Metal Shark Bro by my buddy Walter Osley. His stuff is awesome. Hugely incredibly talented guy. Also does YouTube. Ian Chase Nichols is doing The Tick. Bill Walco's got the Hero Business. Luis Rivera's working on everything. That guy's a monster. You should definitely check his work out. He's doing like 100 comic books a day. He seems like his output is incredible. Yeah, so there's a lot of great local creators, a lot of great artists. Definitely what I try to do is go up and down Artist Alley whenever I'm at those shows and find indie books and indie creators and support that stuff. And go to support your local comic shop too, because they need it more than ever. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And what I'm really doing now is artist editions. That's my thing. Is it's like I want the biggest book ever. So I've got like 4 Frank Miller artist editions right over there. I got The Dark Knight, I got Sin City, I got Ronin, I got Daredevil, I got the Spawn Vault edition. I love seeing the original size boards. I love seeing the original artwork. That's the stuff I really enjoy. So there's a lot of great stuff out right now for sure.
Well, as we've been talking, I've just been kind of looking around, your shelves and, your Batman plaque at the top of the door. Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
I always love the noir editions, the Batman, the noir stuff and the unwrapped stuff, seeing the pencils and line work. I love Greg Capullo. I love Dave Finch. I love Tyler Kirkham. Those guys are superstars. So Sean Murphy, obviously, incredibly talented. There's so many great creators out right now. And I think that, but that's stuff I like. Everybody can like something different. I mean, people don't have to read what I'm reading. That's the great thing about comics is there's stuff for everyone, which is great. I mean, there's weird stuff that I like and there's weird stuff that other people like, and there's something for everybody. So definitely look and find stuff that you love and enjoy and support it.
Well, hopefully we will be able to run into each other at a Comic-Con sometime soon.
Who knows? Sometime
Who knows?
soon. Exactly.
Maybe. So, but again, thanks for, taking the time, and look forward to checking it out. And if you ever have anything in the future that you would like to, talk about, then you're more than welcome back.
Cool. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. It was wonderful chatting with you.
All right. Thank you.